One thing I wish I'd realised a lot sooner when it came to crafting was just how many materials are available all around us for free without having to spend any money on being creative. My name's Helen and I welcome you to my channel, Journaling Planet. Whether you're new or returning, I'm really pleased to have you here. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to make a free art journal from a Christmas gift guide. I picked up this particular gift guide in a chain chemist in the UK called Boots. And there was a massive stack of these, and I knew that essentially a lot of them were going to end up in the recycling or getting pulped. And I had a look through it to see if there was any presents I wanted to buy. And I did buy a few things from this particular shop, but then I had this gift guide and it was this big, glossy, thick booklet. And when we're doing our crafting, often we think glossy is very difficult to work with. There are, however, some exceptions. And if you have either a Christmas gift guide or some other kind of catalogue in your home that is just sitting there and you'd like to get into art journaling in 2025, or you'd like to start a new art journal, then I'm going to talk to you about some ways in which you can use that glossy book in order to create some really interesting art designs and essentially use it as a free art journal. Now, some people will argue that by the time you've bought the things that you use to work with glossy materials, you could have just bought an art journal. But the thing is, the things that you buy to work with glossy materials, if indeed you do buy anything, because you actually don't need to buy much, those things will serve you in many other different craft projects. So really you're getting a lot of mileage from the things that you use when you work with glossy materials. So I think that there are things that once you've bought them, they're just really sound craft investments. If you don't want to buy much, there are ways of working with glossy materials where you literally spend the minimal amount. The cheapest way of working with this glossy material is actually to just use scissors and glue. You can find other images in any other catalogues, magazines, junk mail, anything that comes through your door, get a pair of scissors and glue and start your own collage book. Essentially, it would be a glue book, but if it's an art journal you're going for, you could try and gluing all the images into the book in a very artistic manner. The sky really is the limit with that kind of a project, and you literally only need scissors and glue to do it, because the aim of the project would simply to be use free materials that came through your door or that were gifted or donated from other people. So say a friend had a stack of magazines that they were going to throw away. You'd say, please don't throw those away, give them to me so that I can use them in my free art journal. It's amazing how just asking people that you know can lead to you getting free materials. That might be food packaging that's really lovely. It might be magazines, it might be old newspapers. So scissors and glue, folks. That's all you need to do this. And you can get those really cheaply. You do not need some fancy glue. A glue stick will do. And a pair of scissors, as long as it's got a sharp point on the end, it really doesn't matter how much you paid for them. The reason a sharp point is useful is that it often helps you get a very good cut on very fiddly things that you might cut out of magazines or junk mail. Another thing that you can do is what I'm doing here. You could invest in a set of these Sharpie creative markers. Now, as I said in the beginning, anything you use in this glossy art journal, you can use really with any other project. So it is a really good crafty investment. Now, in the UK, these pens are not really that expensive for what they are. I think they're about £12 to £15 depending on where you buy them. And you get a range of colours. The brown is noticeably missing. There is not a brown in the Creative Sharpie set. And it is something that other creators, including Nicole at Relax Cut Glue, who is the person who gave me this idea to use them on a glossy page, she's definitely said about the brown being missing and it is kind of annoying and we would like a brown in the set, please. So these markers have got fantastic coverage and they last a significant length of time, even when colouring in multiple layers on these glossy pages. They haven't run out for me. And some of these things on the page I've had to go over a couple of times to make sure that the gloss is covered up. In fact, on the very top part of this page in the background, you'll see that even when I go over multiple times with my Creative Sharpie marker, it doesn't quite cover all the text. Now, if I went over again, it probably would cover it up, but I'm just leaving it for now because I might actually leave that in as a little bit of texture in my art journal. All I'm doing when I'm using these Creative Sharpie markers is I'm using what's on the page as a basis for shapes. So in this case, I have chosen to go over the lady who was on this page and create a brand new lady of my own design with my own colours, my own shapes, just using it as a guide. But what you could also do if you wanted to create abstract art is you could just use what's on the page as a rough guide to the shapes. So you could draw around boxes, circles, you could colour over text and make a really interesting piece of abstract art. That's definitely something that I'm going to do while using these creative Sharpie pens in my glossy book. And because they are acrylic, they go over the gloss absolutely fantastically and help you create essentially what amounts to a brand new layer on the page. So I'm using these Sharpies. This is not an advert. I'm not being paid. I'm not being sponsored. I just think they're the best ones that I've used. You can use any acrylic pen for this particular design. It does not have to be creative Sharpie markers. It can be any acrylic pen. So it could be like the Posca, for example, if you've got those in your stash. Anything that is acrylic. You could also use acrylic paints. You don't even need to buy pens. If you already have acrylic paints, those will go over gloss perfectly well. And I'm definitely going to be using acrylic paints in this art journal as well, this free art journal. Now, one little horror story around this page, which I will just tell you about, is that I left the cap off my white creative marker. It was an accident. I thought I had put the cap on correctly and the marker dried out. And I tried various YouTube hacks. I'm afraid I could not resurrect the pen. And the white is quite an important colour. So I'll be using acrylic paints for my white until the set runs out. And then when the set runs out of ink, I will then purchase a new set and I shall be checking that the lids are all on my creative markers. The last thing that I'm going to mention when it comes to working with glossy materials, and if you have some hacks for working with glossy materials, maybe just write them in the comments below. I would love to learn some new ones because I'm going to be working in this glossy book probably all year. So the last thing that I'm going to share with you when it comes to a suggestion of how to work with glossy booklets is to get yourself some gesso. So you can get it in white, you can get it in black, or you can get it clear. And once you put a layer of gesso down onto glossy material, you should be able to draw and paint over that really easily. And the paint and the pens should take to the surface really well. I'll be doing some demonstrations of this when I'm working in this book on this channel in future videos. The gesso really helps to create like a peg on the page, a texture that allows all of the media to stick to it. So please don't discount free glossy booklets that you find. You could use a magazine itself. And there is another video that I've made about making an art journal out of a free magazine as well. So I'll link to that below. I really hope this has been interesting and it gives you a sense of the fact that when I started this hobby years ago, I actually thought it was all about finding the right materials, possibly the most expensive materials, in order to be a real artist. And what I've learned over the years I've been doing it is a very important and valuable lesson. It's about your creativity. It's not about how much your journal costs or how it looks even. It is about your own creativity and how you bring that to the page. And I think it's also about how much fun we have. And because this is a free book and I haven't paid anything for it, I feel like I can actually have a lot of fun with it. I don't need to worry about messing up pages because it's just a free book. So it's all fine. No matter what happens on the page, it's fine. I hope you've enjoyed this video and it gives you some food for thought as we move into 2025. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined me for all the tutorials in 2024. There'll be more coming in the new year. Until then, take care. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.